Hey there, welcome to another video. If you watched my quick little channel update I had, I believe it was Thursday. Yes, it was Thursday. Then you'll know about this new video format that I'm doing every now and then, but if not, here's a quick recap. I'm introducing this format of video that I'm calling Off Topic. So it's still pertaining to my channel as a whole, but what it will be is more opinion-oriented stuff. So think opinion pieces, like you sometimes will see in newspapers, on news websites, on news channels. Think along that line. And also, these will be more rambling, less scripted, of course. In fact, probably rarely any script, because I want it to be more conversational in tone. But so yeah, if you have not figured out sorry about that. If you've not figured out what I'm talking about today, then what I'm talking about is the changing of languages, which is quite an interesting topic to say the least. What actually inspired me to make this video was myself rereading Frindo by Andrew Clements. In fact, if you want to see my review of Frindo by Andrew Clements, it will be in the cards now. So be sure to go check that out if you're interested. Also, that is over on my book review channel. I should have specified that. I also have a bunch of other book reviews too that you can check out at your leisure. But back to changing of languages. So languages really are always constantly changing. I am subscribed to some YouTube channels that delve more into language, a lot more than I could ever even talk about. Some talk about more language in general, some do more conlang stuff, but they're all pretty much related. I even tried to create my own language as well, a couple different ones, but I never get that far. Only one's actually decently fleshed out. And the only reason why I was able to flesh out is I said, grammar structure is the same as English, where no existing word is, use Pig Latin and change a few, and maybe change one or two other things. That's literally how I was able to create one language. But yeah, some other languages I'm actually, like, for a video idea I'm writing for my other channel, my science fiction channel. I'm actually developing a language which is going to be like an evolution of English and Spanish and Portuguese. But I'm just in the beginning of developing it. All I have is really the name of the language, and it's a partially constructed language too. But constructed languages also change just like real natural languages, but natural languages is something. It is amazing how languages change and even stay the same, and how certain dialects of certain languages come to be more common than other dialects. Let's take German for example. In the 1400s and early 1500s, there was no universal German language until Martin Luther translated the Bible into German. His dialect of German became the predominant dialect of German in the Holy Roman Empire and later Germany. So if it wasn't for the Protestant Reformation, the German language as we know it would not exist. Sure, it would definitely still exist, but it would not be the dialect that we know of as standard German. Just kind of an interesting thing there, like even I made this mistake when I made my What If the Reformation Never Happened video, which I highly suggest that you check out as well. But anyhow, you can go check that out. But I just want to say that even I forgot, like, okay, where does the Reformation ever happen? I never even thought to consider the language when I was writing the script for it. And there I only really addressed the the short-term political and the religious effects of it. I did not get too much into a tiny bit into societal, but not in culture, but hardly any. Mostly religious effects, which does affect culture and society a little bit, but really I did not delve into political effects nor how language would change. That's the thing I think a lot of people who do delve into art and history and looking at what ifs. Sometimes languages, we forget about that because we just think English or Spanish or German, whatever language you speak first. Chinese, Italian, Japanese, Korean. I could list off so many languages, all of which are not the same as when they first came about. Let's look at English. Look at English now compared to Shakespearean English or even the King James Version of the Bible. All the dos and thy and all that stuff is like, it is amazing how it changed. You go to the Middle Ages for English, you get like ye, which is actually not an old way of saying it. It isn't actually an old way of saying the, by the way, in case you didn't know. But it's more interesting than that. And like thy is used to be common and all that. It is amazing when you look carefully how languages have changed so much. So yeah. And other languages really are constantly changing as well. Look at in the United States in English and Spanish, the Spanglish, kind of a high English and Spanish words. Sure, most people would say, no, that's not a language, but it could be like in 50 years become a common pidgin language between the United States and Mexico, and within the United States itself, especially in the Southwest, where Spanish is spoken more predominantly in the borderland region. And I'm pretty sure there's some pretty good English communities on Mexico's border too. I don't know as well, but it wouldn't surprise me. They're very close to Belize, which about half the population speaks English, not has Spanish. But that's kind of off topic for this off topic video. But yeah, languages are constantly changing. You just gotta look at slang and how that affects language too. Some of the slang words in the 1990s, you say them today and people have no idea what you're talking about. And like also, you can even throw into the round political correctness, but that may, like, you know, terms like stupid and retarded have fallen out of phase for referring to those who are mentally challenged or mentally disabled, which is our preferred terms now. The political, and I think those are political correct terms. I'm pretty sure, but yeah, how those terms have changed. And that's just a more minor example, and probably mild. You can get some other terms, especially when you're talking about race and slang terms and that are not as mild, or and you can say, and I'll just leave it at that. But even with the example I gave, somebody, yeah, doesn't look that use those terms nowadays, and even back then, you were probably not that in. Of course, some of the examples I gave you probably should have to go back to like the 50s and 60s, not the 90s. But yeah, languages are always changing the ways we can never imagine. Like when Frindo is kind of an example of how just, and we'll make up a new word for this already established thing, and it goes viral. Granted, that never happened in real life, otherwise, instead of saying get out your pens and pencils, it'd be get out your frindles and pencils, which we don't. So obviously the book that has the same effect in the real world as the actions of the one kid in Frindle. But wouldn't that be amazing if we could actually somehow do that? But that's just inventing one word for an already to replace an already existing word, and that was only a fictional example. But we have examples of new words being created for new items and objects. Like computer. Originally, the English language had no word for computer. No, and I'm talking about but computer was a word before. That's actually more of a case where a computer was somebody who computed numbers. What did computers originally do? Compute numbers. And then, but when you look at the other languages like Spanish, a computer is a computadora. They obviously just made their word for our word for computer more Spanish sounding, and boom, a whole new word. Other things can go on as well too. You just gotta look for them, and it is quite interesting when you get down more, like how languages change and how words are borrowed and adapted. Now, cognates in language are similar words. Some of them, yeah, the words either they came from a similar origin, or they all had the easily traceable history, or they all or they're loan words, or very close, or practically loan words, like computer door. You can look at numbers. Let's just look at in between Spanish and French. They're one. In French, it's un. In Spanish, it's uno. You can see a striking similarity between the two. They're both descended from Latin, so that makes sense. But even English, one, not that far off when you think about it. Some different letters, but the N, the second letter being an N, is still there. Some maybe things holding on. And you can go into other things in the past, like vowel shifts that totally change the sound of given vowels. That happened to German. But let's also look at like the word for father. I believe the Latin word was pater, but that became padre in Spanish. Vader in Dutch, and it's very similar in German as well. Father in English, of course, and French is actually, I think, a bit closer to the Latin word. I might have said the Latin word instead of the French one, or the French one instead of the Latin one, but they're all very similar. Granted, because they all come from the same base in Proto-Indo-European, in which the word for father basically comes from our terms for what we think, what we think babies, like when they say mama or papa. Ma and pa are like some of the first sounds that a baby can actually make. So we just associate when ma comes out, they're referring to their mother, probably because that's the first one. And then pa for father, because it's probably generally the second one. And then in culture, as I said, those are going to be related. And you see that in so many languages, the words for mother and father being so similar. Like father is actually probably a pretty big shift away from it when you think about it, and some of the other ones. But when you factor in shifts in sounds and that, you can see how those things could easily occur. And there's other examples out there as well that I could get into, like caught. That's is it you caught a caught. I don't know if you sound any difference, but caught as in the past tense of catch, and caught as in something you sleep on, like when you in camping. So you can caught a, I caught a caught. This can sound the same, but you can say I caught a caught. I don't even know if I made a difference there. I honestly don't know, because for me, this caught and caught sound very similar to me. I'm having trouble making that distinction, and by one time it wasn't as pronounced. Or the distinction was much more between the two, caught and caught. Oh great, I'm not even sure which ones I'm talking about because I'm just saying the words. But that's an example of changing languages. But slang is also an example of changing languages as well. Just maybe not to such a big degree. But yeah, the changing of languages is really everywhere that you care to look for it. And it's quite interesting how languages change. And what would the English language be like 50 years from now, 100 years from now, a millennium from now? A millennium from now, the English language was totally different. When William the Conqueror conquered England, the English language changed dramatically. There's a reason why some linguists actually theorize that the English should actually be more classified as a hybrid Romance Germanic language rather than a Germanic language. It's obviously we're a Germanic language because of the influence of the Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings. Actually, are the Vikings languages Germanic? I think so. But their languages influenced us, then came William the Conqueror, which brought in some French influence. That's why if you learn French, a lot of the words for their animals and food, especially the meats, will sound similar. Beef. We eat beef, but beef comes from cow. But in French, that distinction is not as pronounced, if at all. Same with pig. We get our pork and ham from pigs. I'm not sure where ham comes from, but pork does come from French. Pork, P-O-R-C instead of P-O-R-K. But it's similar. Beef is boeuf in French. Chicken and that stuff remain similar because they were commoner foods. That's the thing. A lot of the words that have fancy names in English, per se, different than the animal names, the ones, that's how you can tell what did the peasants eat and what did the nobles eat. Back in ancient England after the conqueror and the Norman invasion. The food that the noble will eat, there would be a different word for the food than for the animal, because the peasants interacted with the animal, so that name stuck around, but the food name will come, because the peasants didn't eat them, will come from the nobility. That's why chicken is both the animal and the food, while beef is the food and cow is the animal, and so on. Granted, poultry does come from, if I'm correct, the French word for chicken or poultry in a sense, but we only use that to talk about poultry as a whole, not chicken, turkey, and all that stuff separately. We don't do that. But there's also like fish, we don't use a French term for fish. Poisson? I think I got that right. I might accidentally said poison because they're super identical, so I apologize to any French speakers. I took only 1 year of French in high school, and I have not practiced it in the couple months since, even though I do want to. But that's just one small example of that. That the Norman invasion does show how the languages, how English language changed, even more so than more than the difference between Shakespearean English and now. King James English also, from the King James Bible. That was around the same time as Shakespeare as well. So I'm going to end this off-topic video there. So thank you for watching this off-topic video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and let me know in the comments, what do you think about the changing of languages? And I'll try to get back to you, respond to your comments to the best of my abilities. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. Be knowledgeable.